key one. Stoic in a world that often holds kindness up as the ultimate virtue. It may seem unusual to question whether being overly kind can sometimes be harmful. However, when we step back and examine it through the lens of Stoic philosophy, we uncover a deeper truth about the importance of balance, wisdom, and self-care. While generosity and kindness are essential, the Stoics suggest that there is such a thing as being too kind. Overextending ourselves with kindness might actually lead us off course, causing emotional exhaustion, strained relationships, and even hindering our personal growth. Stoicism teaches us about emotional resilience and the importance of not letting external factors dictate our inner peace. Constantly prioritizing others' needs over our own can lead us to lose our sense of balance. True wisdom, according to Stoicism, comes from understanding the limits of our generosity and ensuring our kindness doesn't compromise our own emotional stability. In this way, kindness becomes an act of self-respect and moderation, rather than an obligation or sacrifice. This isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a practical matter. Think about your daily interactions. How often do you say yes when you really need to say no? How often do you give of yourself without considering whether it's depleting your emotional or physical reserves? Stoicism invites us to recognize that while kindness is a virtue, it should be practiced judiciously. This way, it enhances our well-being and the well-being of others, rather than becoming a source of stress and resentment. One of the greatest dangers of excessive kindness is emotional burnout. This isn't just a temporary fatigue, but a full-on state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. When we continually put others' needs before our own, we often feel valued or needed in the moment. But over time, this leads to chronic stress. We may find ourselves constantly being the listener, the helper, or the problem solver, but eventually, this role becomes unsustainable. The Stoics warn us of this danger. They believe that our first responsibility is to ourselves, not in a selfish, self-centered way, but in a way that ensures we are strong, stable, and capable of offering help to others without sacrificing our own well-being. Marcus Aurelius, for example, often stressed the importance of preserving one's character amidst external pressures. Stoicism teaches us to maintain emotional resilience by recognizing what's truly within our control and setting appropriate boundaries. Excessive kindness can also hinder our personal growth. Stoicism asserts that growth, whether intellectual, emotional, or moral, is essential for living a fulfilling and virtuous life. When we focus too much on others, we can neglect our own development. We might put off pursuing hobbies, education, or career goals in favor of helping others. While helping others is important, Stoicism reminds us that it should never come at the cost of neglecting our own growth and virtues. This is where self-reflection becomes key. We must ask ourselves, is my kindness enhancing my life or preventing me from pursuing my true aspirations? Stoicism teaches that we should set boundaries not only for others, but for ourselves. By making time for personal growth, we ensure that our kindness remains a force for good, both for others and for ourselves. Another risk of being overly kind is that it can attract relationships where kindness is taken for granted rather than appreciated. When we give without boundaries, some may see this as an invitation to take advantage of us, rather than a mutual exchange of respect. The Stoics believe in discernment, understanding whom to help, when to help, and how much to give. Epictetus, for instance, cautioned against enabling others' negative traits, such as greed or dependency. When kindness becomes excessive and unmeasured, we risk finding ourselves in relationships where our goodwill is exploited. The Stoics teach that true kindness should never compromise our integrity, and that our efforts to help others should always be rooted in mutual respect and justice, not self-sacrifice. By practicing Stoic wisdom, we can ensure that our kindness fosters healthy, respectful relationships that contribute to our well-being, not drain us. Ultimately, Stoicism advocates for a balanced approach to kindness. It's not about withdrawing from kindness or generosity, but about practicing them in a way that doesn't deplete us. It's about recognizing when to give and when to set limits, ensuring that our generosity contributes to our happiness and the well-being of others, without creating stress or resentment. So, while kindness remains a core virtue, the Stoics remind us that true wisdom lies in moderation. We can be compassionate, but we must also be discerning, knowing when to persist and when to resist. By striking this balance, we cultivate a life of fulfillment, wisdom, and strength. A life where kindness is truly an act of virtue, not one of self-sacrifice. Key 1. Stoic in life. The desire to be kind and helpful is a virtue, but when kindness is not balanced with wisdom and self-respect, it can become a double-edged sword. Too often, people give without considering the toll it takes on them, creating one-sided relationships where the giver is drained and the receiver is left wanting more. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true kindness must be rooted in both generosity and prudence, understanding not only what is good, but also how it impacts our well-being and our life goals. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the need to be thoughtful in our actions, advising that we should focus on the greater good, but never neglect our own needs in the process. When it comes to relationships, it's crucial to establish boundaries that protect your own energy while still being compassionate. Stoicism encourages us to offer help, but in a way that is sustainable and thoughtful. This creates relationships based on mutual respect rather than manipulation or exploitation. Let's look at a scenario many of us can relate to. You want to be there for a friend who needs your support, but at what cost to your own well-being? If you're always giving, you may find yourself worn out with little left for yourself or others. A Stoic approach suggests that being kind doesn't mean sacrificing your own happiness. True generosity comes when we recognize the need to preserve our energy and stay aligned with our values. This way, our kindness becomes a source of strength, not depletion. In making decisions, Stoicism also warns against letting emotions, like excessive kindness, cloud your judgment. The desire to please others or avoid conflict can lead to decisions that are not in your best interest. In many cases, this results in feelings of dissatisfaction or disconnection from your own true desires. Instead, Stoic thinkers like Epictetus emphasize the importance of making rational decisions, ensuring that kindness doesn't overshadow your personal integrity or long-term goals. When it comes to relationships, a lack of balance and kindness can have long-term consequences. Excessive pleasing often results in shallow connections. While these relationships might seem pleasant on the surface, they may lack depth and honesty. By always saying yes and suppressing your true thoughts to avoid conflict, you risk creating a dynamic where others depend on you, not for who you truly are, but for what you can give them. This is not a sustainable foundation for meaningful relationships. The Stoics teach that authentic relationships are built on mutual understanding, respect, and honesty. Without the ability to be authentic, we may find ourselves in relationships that are draining and unfulfilling. This is why self-awareness and maintaining boundaries are essential. By protecting yourself while still being kind, you foster relationships that are not just about giving, but about being recognized for who you truly are. The psychological effects of excessive kindness are also profound. Stoic philosophy advocates for maintaining emotional equilibrium. Giving too much without care for your own needs can lead to burnout, stress, and even resentment. When your needs are constantly suppressed, it becomes difficult to maintain a sense of self, which can ultimately lead to feelings of anxiety and emotional depletion. The Stoics remind us that true strength comes from being able to care for ourselves while also caring for others, finding a balance between generosity and self-respect. The way to avoid these risks is to practice self-reflection. By examining our motivations for kindness and considering how our actions impact our emotional and mental health, we can find a more balanced approach. Marcus Aurelius taught that we should act according to our virtues and reason, and that includes being kind to ourselves as much as we are kind to others. It's only by aligning our actions with our own values that we can maintain the strength and wisdom to give without losing ourselves. In the end, kindness is most powerful when it is balanced by self-respect. By following the wisdom of the Stoics, we can ensure that our acts of kindness are not only generous, but also sustainable, nurturing both our relationships and our own well-being. Key 1. Stoic in today's world. It's easy to fall into the trap of constantly putting others first, sometimes even at the expense of our own well-being. While acts of kindness and generosity are crucial, if taken too far, they can lead to serious mental health challenges, such as anxiety and depression. This occurs when we prioritize the needs of others to the point where we neglect our own emotional and psychological needs. Stoic philosophy offers an insightful perspective on this. It teaches us to lead lives filled with virtue while also being deeply self-aware and taking care of our own mental and physical health. The Stoics understood that balance is key. When we give so much of ourselves that we forget to replenish our own well-being, we disrupt the harmony of our inner world. This imbalance can quickly spiral into emotional turmoil. The Stoics also believed in the concept of apatheia, which is not a lack of emotion, but rather the wisdom to manage emotions effectively. Instead of suppressing feelings or pretending to be fine, Stoicism advocates for understanding and managing our emotional states so they don't overwhelm us. When we neglect our own needs in favor of others, we can quickly feel unappreciated or overwhelmed, which ultimately affects our mental health. Moreover, there is the danger of maintaining a facade of endless kindness, which can prevent us from being our authentic selves. When we suppress our true feelings in order to maintain a pleasing image for others, we often end up feeling isolated and disconnected. This emotional isolation is a major contributor to mental health struggles such as depression and anxiety. Instead, Stoicism encourages us to express our true feelings and needs, which fosters authentic connections with ourselves and others. It teaches that being true to ourselves is not selfish. It's necessary for our emotional health and well-being. Regular self-reflection, a key Stoic practice, can help us recognize when we are overextending ourselves and identify when our acts of kindness are harming our mental health. Incorporating Stoic wisdom into our approach to kindness doesn't mean we become less generous or caring. It means we approach generosity with wisdom, ensuring that our actions are not self-sacrificial. By taking care of ourselves, we are better equipped to care for others in a way that is sustainable and truly helpful. This balance is essential for preventing the negative spiral into mental health challenges, ensuring that we are not overwhelmed by the demands we place on ourselves. Stoicism doesn't advocate for withholding kindness. Rather, it suggests that we need to act with balance and awareness. In doing so, we protect our own mental health while continuing to positively contribute to the lives of others. Ultimately, by nurturing both our inner well-being and our external relationships, we create a life that is not only fulfilling for ourselves, but also for those around us. Practicing Stoic principles helps us avoid the pitfalls of self-neglect and emotional burnout, enabling us to live with purpose, strength, and resilience. Take time to reflect on your own emotional health, set healthy boundaries, and ensure that your kindness is truly aligned with your values and personal well-being. This balanced approach to life doesn't just protect you. It enhances every relationship you nurture and enriches your own soul. Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-awareness and virtuous living. Let's continue to grow, reflect, and cultivate the best within ourselves.